Back in this goes way back, 1994, Robert and I had done some investing. We had primarily done most of our investing was up in Portland, Oregon, because that's where we were living at the time. A matter of fact, how many of you have a investing goal written out? Okay, how many do not? Okay, I would highly recommend you kind of get some clarity on what that goal might be, because a goal can be very powerful. Because for me, the first goal that we set when it came to property investing is we were going to get 20 units. We were going to get 2 properties a year for 10 years, so we'd have 20 units. So it was a 10-year plan. So once I started understanding it, and I got that first property, which I was scared to death. How many of you were scared on your first property? Oh my God, I was shaking. I was looking for every reason why not to buy that first little 2-bedroom, 1-bath house that was $5,000, of which I did not have. So I started buying properties. But then once I kind of understood it, instead of taking 10 years to get those 20 units, it took 18 months. And that's the power of a goal. So we had bought all these properties up in Portland, Oregon, and that market then took off. And at the same time, the Phoenix market was crashing. And we had friends here, and we thought, you know, it's kind of cold and rainy and wet in Portland, Oregon. I know there's some people here from Portland, yes? Yes, there you are. And I really like to be outdoors, and I like the sunshine, so we decided to move to Phoenix. And we had a broker up there named Dave, and we said, Dave, we're going to sell all our Portland property, and we're going to move it to Phoenix. So we actually want you to sell and close it all at the same time so that we can do an exchange into property here. So I'm looking for a property here in Phoenix, and there's 2 properties that we identified, and these are the 2. We're going to get one or the other because we could only afford one with the proceeds that we had the money from the Portland sales. So we're looking at these 2 properties. They're very different. One is going to be we have to turn it from a pretty much almost like an Airbnb. It was like it's 18 units, but it was run as short-term rentals. We were going to have to turn it into a long-term rental, which I never did. I didn't know how to do it. If I could do it, I didn't know if it'd be successful, but it had a lot of upside if it was successful. So that was really, really interesting. The other property was just it was a nice, steady, cash-flowing property. It wasn't much you had to do to it, but it had a really nice, healthy monthly cash flow every month. So we're sitting there going, which one are we going to do? Which one are we going to do? How are we going to do it? I'm up late at night. I'm running all the numbers because I'm not that sophisticated a real estate investor at this time, and trying to figure out which one am I going to do? Which one am I going to do? And it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and all of a sudden I'm like, how could we do both? How could we do both? And I'm thinking back to Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'm like, I can't afford it. How could I afford it? I can't have both. How could I have both? And all of a sudden it got really interesting, and it got really exciting, because trying to figure out, okay, now it's not just we're just going to move money from here to here. Now we have to do something, because we don't have that money right now to do it. But just by asking the question, and I think that's one of the key lessons I've had in life, is by asking the question, how can I, all of a sudden it puts your mind to work, and it gets very, very exciting. So the lesson I took away from this is what happened is we started looking at this, how could we do both, how could we do both? We actually ended up buying both, and because we bought those 2 properties, that was back in 1994, it was those 2 properties that allowed us to become financially free. Those were the 2 properties, as I said, when we talk about financially free, everybody understands cash flow versus capital gains, yes? Anybody not? Okay, because we were all about cash flow. I am the queen of cash flow. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. But when we talked about being financially free, of course, people thought we had millions of dollars and all of this. And no, these 2 properties and a couple other properties put $10,000 a month every month in our pocket, and our living expenses were only $3,000 a month. So at that point, we were financially free. And the beauty of that was that when I go back to our first date, Robert said, "What's your life purpose?" Once we were financially free and not having to work for money and not having to struggle with the bills and all of that, once we were financially free, we actually had the luxury of asking the question, what is it we want to do with our life? And that's when we started making the cash flow game. That's when we started doing all the things that we were doing, and we wanted to basically bring financial education to the masses. Because as I said, the purpose of a business is to solve a problem. And the problem we saw was that there was no financial education in schools anywhere throughout the world, so we took on the task of bringing financial education to as many people who wanted it. So that was one of the first lessons I had, was ask the question, how can I? How could we do it? And that changed everything for us.